What's up, guys, and welcome to episode 24 of the Yard Podcast. I'm your host, Randy.
And I'm your host, Konu.
And this week we have the Division Series preview against the Padres, as well as going over the Wild Card Series from last week. So we want to get into that. So really quickly, you can find us on social at Dodger Yard on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And you can find my personal at Randy_Radcliffe.
And you can find my personal at Michael Konu, MYKALKONU.
And really, that's all I have to say this week. I'm excited. I'm pumped up. Leave us a review, rating if you guys haven't. Don't forget to subscribe. But other than that, let's talk about this upcoming series. I don't want to forget, tomorrow is Mookie Betts' 28th birthday. So happy birthday to Mookie.
Happy birthday, Mook.
We need to bring home this win tonight in game one, but got to get Mookie that win tomorrow too. So should be a fun series. We just got the roster released this morning, and there were a couple changes, nothing too significant. A little bit to talk about there, though. Floro and Gavin Lux were added. Keibert Ruiz and Edwin Rios were both off, and there's still no Wood. Floro makes a ton of sense. Ruiz being taken off makes a ton of sense. The one where there seems to be a lot of question right now is why Gavin Lux made the postseason roster over Edwin Rios. I can't find much of a reason as to why this could be happening. I know you had some thoughts on that. I have to find something on Twitter really quickly because Jeff Snyder, who I'm sure a lot of people who are listening to this have heard from him, he had plenty of ideas as to why. So
so my thinking was not necessarily that he's like hurt, but he maybe tweaked something and they didn't want to run the risk. They just wanted him to be rested at 100% just in case they do get to NLCS. I doubt Lux plays, but if he does, I think I told you during the Angel series that I was starting to feel a little confident in him, and he's adjustment away from breaking out. His timing is there. He's been aggressive. And once he starts swinging at the bottom half of the ball, I think he's going to start finding gaps. The one funny thing is that question I brought up last week about who could potentially be like an unsung hero of the playoffs or have a big hit. In my mind, I was thinking about Lux had he made it. So he's here now for this series at least, and it's time for him to make me look bad.
Yeah. I had my own thoughts on it, not too really many, except for what you mentioned about possible injury. My only other thought was maybe Gavin Lux speed, but Terrence Gorse is still on the roster, so that's obviously not the reason why he's on there. So Jeff Snyder, his is at Snydog. This was a couple things he came up with was, which he's correct, Globe Life is a ginormous stadium. That outfield is huge. So it's not really a home run park. And if you've paid any attention to Dodgers baseball, we all know that is Edwin Rios' skill, is hitting home runs. So if they're taking him to a park where that's not maybe going to happen as much, and you see someone like Gavin Lux who has those line drives, spray singles, whatever it may be, he might fit in better there. Another thing he mentions was the outfield defense. It's good, like I said, huge outfield. You're going to need guys out there who can run. There's a very good chance you're throwing Taylor in left field, and Pollock is going to be DHing a lot more because you don't want Pollock running all over that outfield. So if that is the case, then you're not really going to put Rios on there because all Rios will do is DH. And if Pollock's taking up that DH spot, or maybe even Turner one day, it gives them more depth at second base. If Taylor does play outfield, you can have Lux play second. And then the last thing he brought up, which actually I didn't even mention, Jock Peterson is on the NLDS roster, which none of us knew would happen or not. He is there. He's there with his family. So he did mention the possibility that maybe the Dodgers know something that, of course, we don't. And maybe there's a possibility that Jock ends up leaving a little bit sooner than the entire series. And that's where Rios could come into play, with he could be take Jock's spot. So there's a lot of different theories behind it. Yeah. I have no idea. I don't necessarily agree with it, but again, there could be plenty of stuff that, I mean, we just don't know. So it's kind of hard to say this is the wrong decision.
I think my initial thought was that since Jock is on the roster, he would be their left-handed power hitter off the bench for those situations. And if there's a situation where you don't need the home run, but maybe need somebody to get a single, double, or get on base. Lux fits that bill a lot more than Rios would. So that was my initial thought. But yeah, I mean, what Jeff Snyder said makes a whole lot of sense because I
Yeah.
definitely did not want Pollock running around that outfield.
Yeah, and no, it does make sense because you think Jock would be that left-handed guy. He hits it. He does really well against Chris Paddock. We've seen that. We've seen the Padres have a lot of righties who throw fastballs. That's Jock's thing. He seemed to pick it up the last couple games of the season. So who knows? We'll see what happens. I'm going to keep sticking with my same thing. I just hope him and his family are doing okay. And
Yeah.
the fact that they're here in Arlington, not here, not like I'm there, but you know what I mean. The fact that they're in Arlington, his family's there, makes me feel a little bit better about the scenario that they felt comfortable enough to travel. So hopefully things are better. With that being said, Walker Bueller will get the game one start tonight. He will be pitching against Mike Clevinger, which was actually just announced a few minutes ago. Nobody knew whether or not he would be making the roster. Dinelson Lamet did not make the roster. So Mike Clevinger versus Walker Bueller game one should be pretty good. Kershaw will pitch game two. A lot of thoughts as it could be Paddock because he was potentially their game one had Clevinger not come in. As for game three, we're kind of sitting the same place as we did last series. Roberts doesn't know. Could be Gonsolin, could be May, could be Urias. I don't know if you heard, I found this a little bit interesting, but Roberts also mentioned that there's a possibility one of them could pitch out of the bullpen as their side day of work before making a start in the NLDS, which I'm for it. My only concern is sometimes the adrenaline in a bullpen is obviously a lot less than a game. And if you have a young guy like Dustin May going out there, a 20 pitch bullpen versus a 20 pitch playoff game is very, very, very different levels of speed, levels of adrenaline, what you're putting your body through. So I don't have a problem with it, but that kind of made a little bit more sense to me as to why maybe they don't have Alex Wood on the roster. Because you can just take one of those starters and throw them in there if you need long relief. So I don't see why not. Like I said, Bueller pitches tonight. We've heard everything around his blister, whether or not we need to be concerned about that. Roberts has no idea how many innings he's going to pitch. He doesn't know if he'll have to stack starters. He kind of just said it's going to be like last game. We kind of just have to see what happens and go there. Bueller, being as stubborn as he is, which we all know and at times can appreciate, sometimes not so much, but he says he's not worrying about the blister. So I guess all we can really do is get behind him and trust that he's going to go out there and do what we need. He was pretty decent. He was actually pretty good in the NLDS. It was against an awful team though in the Brewers. So I don't know how much kind of like stake to put into that. The Padres are a totally different team. Do you feel confident with Bueller on the mound? I do, just because I think Bueller's that guy when it comes to October, but that blister can obviously change anything at any point.
Yeah, the blister was my main concern because something that I had noticed about Walker Bueller is his slider usage has gone down. I was thinking maybe that's because of his blister, but like his slider is a really good pitch for him. Now he will always mainly rely on his four seam fastball and his cutter, but his curveball and slider are very key pitches for him. And as far as I can tell, he's still throwing the curveball about the same clip as he usually does, but the slider has gone way down. Now, when he throws the slider, he has a whiff percentage of 16.7%, and last year and this year it's only 6.64. And in the last 2 months of this season, he's thrown his slider 8.2% of the time. Now, the first month of the season and the last month of last season, he threw his slider 24% of the time. So for me, it has to be a blister issue. Now, the pitch for him is very good because his slugging against the slider is 0.245, which is well below the average for slugging percentage. So I think if his blister's okay and he's willing to throw the slider, that's going to be a big key factor for Bueller's success.
Yeah, and I agree. Bueller did talk about all of this stuff after his start in game one about how confident he felt, how he was throwing the ball, all of that good stuff. And for those of you that don't know, shameless plug right here. We actually have all these post game and pre game press conferences with the players on our YouTube channel. So you can find us at Dodger Yard on there. I put up every single one the Dodgers give us access to. There's a portal. So if the portal gives me access to the video, it's uploaded. If you see a video is not uploaded, that's because the Dodgers did not release it, at least not to the portal I have access to. So check that out. It's cool to get a lot of insights from players. You can also check out Sportsnet LA. They do little clips on Twitter, but for the full thing, you can check that out there. But yeah, I agree. I think Buehler looked really good. He had that one inning where he gave up, what was it, the home run, but it
The
wasn't,
RCA, yeah.
yeah, it wasn't anything too concerning. I would much rather guys give up a home run instead of hit after hit after hit. One bad pitch is one bad pitch versus he's getting hit because he's not doing his job. So if Buehler can get out of this game and give me 5 or 6 innings and only give up 2 runs, I will be very happy. The Padres have a hell of a lineup. MLB.com. I don't agree with this in the slightest.
That's what I
MLB.com.
was gonna bring up to you.
Yeah.
That's what, yeah.
MLB.com has the Padres rated as the #1 lineup. I do not agree. The Padres are very good. Don't get me wrong. But I think that's pretty wild to put them up there as the #1, especially when the Yankees, granted, yesterday's game hadn't happened first, but the Yankees have now scored nine straight runs in 3 playoff games, and they have faced the Indians and the Rays, which are 2 of the best pitching teams in all of baseball outside of like the Dodgers are added in with them too. So I don't know. They had the Dodgers lineup ranked 4th, which I can understand to an extent because guys like Muncy aren't showing up. Dodgers offense got the job done against the Brewers, but didn't look too hot. And we'll get into that a little bit later.
So, regarding that graph, did you see? I've seen him on Twitter before. His name is Kershiser77, but he said the Dodgers beat the Padres in on-base percentage, slugging, ISO, WOBA, WRC plus, walk percentage, K percentage, home runs, runs, and RBIs. The Padres beat them in batting average by 0.001%.
Yes, I do. I do follow Kershiser. That dude knows his stuff. So I completely believe him when he tweets that stuff out because it doesn't really surprise me. I knew the Padres were good. I knew they had an incredible lineup. When I watched the game last week, it was the Padres versus the Cardinals. They did a StatCast edition, and I always watch that because ESPN is awful. However, the people that call the StatCast games are actually really knowledgeable about the game. So they had put up the lineups based on OPS plus. The Cardinals had 2 players with OPS plus above 100. The Padres' entire lineup, besides one hitter, which was Tommy Pham, who has been hurt for most of the season, was the only player in their lineup whose OPS plus this season was not over 100. So, yes, they have a great lineup, but I don't know if I would put them at the best, and I don't think they deserve to be over the Dodgers. So we'll see. I think they rely a lot on the home run ball. So I don't know how well Globe Life is going to treat them. We saw it a lot in the last series. Almost, it seemed like all of their runs against the Cardinals came off of home runs. So if the Dodger pitchers can keep the ball in the park, all we have to do is manufacture runs. We did it against the Brewers. Most of our runs came off doubles, walks, base hits, all of that good stuff. So that's what they have to keep doing. Mookie said it himself. The Dodgers cannot change their game. They have to keep playing their baseball. If they try to change it up too much, that's when things can get a little bit worrisome. Speaking of the ball traveling a little bit, they expect the roof to be open for the games, and it sounds like that could help the ball travel a little bit farther. According to Roberts, they don't have much to go off of because it is a brand new game and only 30 games were played there brand new stadium and only 30 games were played there this season. And it's not like the Rangers have this fantastic offense you can really grade too much off of. So that'll be interesting. Kind of my last, or go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So I wanted to say something real fast because, as you mentioned, Clevinger is getting the start tonight. So I kind of want to talk about him a little bit so fans know what to expect. Now, in recent years, he's relied heavily on his four-seam fastball, but this season it's been a bit of a different story. Um, He's throwing his fastball more than 10% less than usual. So it went from 53% last year to 42% this year. He's relying heavily on his slider, kind of like Kershaw does. He's still able to reach 96 miles per hour with his fastball, though. So his slider usage has jumped from 23% in 2019 to 31% this year. But in September alone, he threw that slider at 41% of the time. Now, his slider is much different from Kershaw's, where Kershaw's will sit between 86 to 90 for the most part. Clevinger's slider velocity will sit between 80 to 83 miles per hour. He's also started throwing a cutter more, and he gets a lot of swing and misses on that, well more than the average pitcher. So look for the slider today from Clevinger a lot, and maybe not so much of the fastball.
You know,
So you had mentioned Jock hits the fastball well. If Clevinger's starting and he uses the slider much more than the fastball, I might not play Jock, is what I'm
so
getting at.
you pay attention to pitcher mechanics more than I do. This is probably something I should know, but I know that there's going to be plenty of fans that don't know it, myself included. Do you know any idea if throwing the difference between a slider and fastball, if he's dealing with an elbow injury, which pitch we might see more? Just based on the fact that if it's his elbow,
That's also true.
like
Um,
I'm
I
wondering if that would. I saw him
I
pitch a bullpen yesterday. They released
yeah.
videos. The dude has an
Was he
aggressive.
so yeah,
And he was
to
going.
begin with, yeah.
Yeah, he's aggressive as hell when his delivery. He was doing
It's
it
violent.
yesterday. Yeah, it's a very violent. Everything moves. So I'm just wondering, like, will he throw less fastballs? Will he throw less sliders? I don't know much about kind of arm
I
breaks and
I
that kind of
don't know
stuff.
much about that either, but I mean, again, he throws violently to begin with, so I don't know if he would want to throw the fastball all that much.
Yeah.
But then again, I think didn't Ferguson mess up by throwing a curveball? So I guess it just depends.
Yeah, I guess every pitcher is different, arm slot, how they deliver, all of that kind of stuff. So it'll be interesting. Like I mentioned before this podcast, they said they would not put him on the roster unless he can start. So I guess they think he's okay. He couldn't even pitch in the wild card series after only going one inning. I think it was against the Angels in his final start of the season. So I don't know what'll happen. 3-game series, it seemed like the Padres were just able to skate by using their bullpen the way they did because Chris Paddock was awful. And they didn't really have their starters. They didn't have Lamette. They didn't have Clevinger. So they were just kind of rolling the dice a bit. Their offense saved them that series. So we'll have to wait and see there. One other thing I wanted to talk about for the potential preview of this series was Kenley Jansen. And kind of what is going on there. Robert said that he was open to pitching in games earlier than the 9th inning. So I posted that on our Instagram page, just like letting fans know, like, hey, this is what Robert said. It seems like a lot of fans are more pissed off that he's going to get the opportunity earlier in the game versus later. Because as we all know, the Dodgers like to score in the late innings. So it seems like a lot of fans are worried if they throw him in the 6th, 7th inning, like, is he going to blow up? And then we're going to have to play this whole catch up game the rest of the game. Or do we just hold him off and put him in the 5th or in the 9th inning when we're up by more than 3 runs, when it's not a save, when he can't easily blow it? Roberts had his own concerns after seeing him pitch in the wild card series. He said his stuff didn't seem to have some of the teeth it had in previous outings. So I'm assuming he meant like his stuff didn't bite as much as it did. It didn't break as much as it did, which we all saw. It was awful. He wasn't even averaging 90 miles per hour on his fastball. A lot of them were ticking in between 88, 89, if that. He had almost seemed like no command. Everything seemed like it was just being thrown straight down the dick, which isn't going to get you anywhere. It did against the awful Brewers, but you can't do that with the Padres. We've seen what the Padres can do to Jansen. Even saw it this year. We got lucky that Taylor threw out. I think it was Grisham running home on that play. So I'm a little concerned with Jansen against a team like the Padres. We have mentioned well, maybe not on the podcast, but I think all around time and time again, the Padres have an energy that is just next level, that we don't see as Dodger fans very much from our players. It's just a totally different team. They're a younger team. I forget which reporter said it, but it was kind of funny. He made a good point. The Dodgers are those guys that used to be at the club every night partying, but have now retired from the club and are home with their families. And the Padres are the new guys at the scene, the young players who show up to the club and have all the energy while the Dodgers are at home chilling with their family life, which is fine. But if you watch that series against the Cardinals, uh, if it wasn't for that energy, I don't know if they come back. The way Tatis plays the game, the way they yell, the offense, the energy, everything. I'm all for it. It's fun. It makes the game so much more fun. But I'm very curious to see how the Dodgers act. Are we going to see them? We saw the whole thing with Grisham when he bat flipped against Kershaw. Do we see the Dodgers try and play their game too and have too much energy, or not too much energy, but do we see them kind of flip this switch all of a sudden, or are they just going to be them same selves, and when they hit that home run they're just going to do their thing?
I think they're just gonna do their thing. Just be the same Dodgers. They'll be kind of even keeled. You'll get your energy from players who usually give you energy. Kike is a fun guy, so if he does something, he'll do what he does. Mookie will slap ass at second base if he hits a double. So they'll do the little barrels for overrated thing, and
Well,
that
now
will
it's
be what
freaking
they
now
do.
it's barrels overrated, the salt thing, and then the new hammer thing. I don't know. They've got so much stuff. Kike freaking does all of them now when he reaches base, and it's like the
First
most
base, yeah.
confusing thing in the world. So, hey, I'm all about it. Have fun. Yeah, I don't want to see the Dodgers change themselves too much. We saw how much the Padres got under their skin when Grisham bat flipped. And it wasn't some of the best comments from guys like Roberts. I don't think all the fans were there for it. I think looking back, Roberts probably would change what he said about disrespecting Kershaw, because Kershaw himself said he took no offense to it. It's part of the game. Grisham made a good point after, like, Clayton Kershaw is the greatest pitcher of this generation. Grisham probably grew up watching Kershaw pitch. And when you hit a home run against the best team in baseball, against the best pitcher in your entire lifetime, and potentially the sport over all these years, um, it's a little bit exciting. I would have loved it if our guys did it. However, the one thing that happened though that game is the Dodgers that turned the whole Dodger season around. Mookie Betts said it himself. The Dodgers got punched in the mouth after they lost that game to the Padres. They went and won. They went 12-2 after that game. So whatever the Padres did, bat flipping, whatever it was, it pissed them off because they went and only lost 2 games the rest of the season after that one.
Who
So
they lose
whatever,
to? The A's and
they lost one to the A's and one to the
Rockies.
no, because they lost 2 to the Rockies when the Rockies came to town. That was the only series they lost all season. They lost one to the A's. Oh, they did. You're right. Sorry. They won 2 against Colorado, and then they won one. They lost one. So it was the other Colorado series they lost to.
Yeah.
But yeah. So they just need to do their thing. They need to go out there and play. For those of you, just so you guys have your game time info, game 1 tonight is at 6. Well, I'm going to say 6:30. It's at 6:38. There's a bunch of 8s on after all of these times. So 6:30 p.m. tonight on FS1. Game 2 Wednesday would be 6 p.m. on FS1. Game 3 Thursday, just so you guys know, there are no off days. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Thursday, 6 p.m. MLB Network, which I apologize to a lot of you who probably aren't going to be able to watch the game because MLB decided to put it on MLB Network, which is pretty lame. And then game 4 and game 5, if they are needed, will be 6 p.m. on Fox Sports FS1 and then 5 p.m. on FS1. So this game absolutely has the potential to go 5. I see it Dodgers in 4. Do you have anything you're looking forward to the most this series? Like anything at all that comes to your mind that you're just like, you're pumped up? Because I have to be honest, and I'm curious if you feel the same, but I feel like I was so full of shit these last couple months telling myself, like, I don't care about the playoffs. It's going to be whatever. Like the second that game started last week, like it all went back to every year. Like it's not exactly the same. And I don't think I'd be hurt as much if we lost this year because we're not gonna be able to celebrate it in person. But like all of the anxiety came back, all of the excitement came back. Like all of a sudden I cared more than I had all season. And now this series against the Padres, I feel like it's going to make me care even more because I don't want to lose to the Padres. Oh, did I send you that video? That Padres, the rap video that Padres fans did?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna send that to you. You won't really be able to watch it right now just because it's gonna take up too much. But Padres fans have a lot coming their way if they don't win this series. So they took California Love, so they straight up disrespected Pac, which I'm not okay with to begin with. And they turned it into a diss track against the Dodgers, basically saying that the Padres are the best team in the NL West. They're about to prove that. Kershaw chokes, and that when they go to Chavez Ravine, they feel like they're going to be stabbed. So, throwing a little racism in there as well with their video, I guess, was what you could say, some stereotype racism to Dodger fans. But, hey, um,
Oh, boy.
so
Okay.
if they
Yeah.
don't win, they're gonna have a lot of shit coming their way. And I think Dodger fans are just ready. I think have done a lot, and we know what it's like to be through these playoffs and win. So I think a lot of Dodger fans are keeping their mouths shut right now. But the Dodgers
They
come
have
away
the
with
receipts
this.
ready.
Yeah, if the Dodgers come away with this series win, I don't think those fans are ever gonna live it down. So if you guys want to enjoy it, I want to say the dude's name is Ferdi, Ferdi Raps. It's two white dudes, or at least they look white and they rap like they're white. No offense, white people, but let's be honest here. It was very embarrassing. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. But back to my question, I apologize. Is there anything
Yeah,
you're looking forward
no.
to?
Um, Honestly, I think this has been the most relaxed I've been during a Dodgers postseason. Because usually I'm kind of frantic, feeling a little nauseated for whatever reason. Also hype as well, but I've really just been really calm this whole time. So I don't expect that to change much. It would suck losing to the Padres, but if they did, I mean, oh well, that doesn't mean they're the better team. It just means
Yeah.
the Dodgers beat themselves again, which is kind of what they're known to do. So would it surprise me if the Padres won? No. I've seen a lot of people picking them in five, and that's fine. I can see them winning in five. I might have them winning in five. Who knows? But it really wouldn't matter all that much to me. If this was last year, matter next year, it might matter. But the 60 game season, I can't find myself getting too hype about it. So if they lose, well, if they win, great. I'm calm, and it's going to be fun to watch because it has been fun to watch. But again, whatever outcome it is, I think I'll be good with it. I'm not on Twitter as much as you are, so it's going to be pretty rough for you if the Dodgers lose. But for me, I wouldn't it wouldn't matter too much.
I've done this new thing where during games I don't check my notifications because then it doesn't really matter at that point. So it doesn't. I don't care anymore if people talk shit. I think it makes it fun. Padres Twitter I think is a little new to all of this. So, but no, I get you. There's still a lot of people I'll see kind of in the comment section telling me like they don't really care. 60 game season won't mean much. And then there's other fans who feel the opposite way. I'll be happy if we win. It won't be the same excitement. And that for me is just because it's not even so much that it's a 60 game season, more so that's anything. It's the fact that fans can't actually appreciate it, enjoy it. It's the fact we can't go to a parade. It's the fact that if you want to go to a game, there's only going to be, which I'll go over in a little, well, I'll just go over it now. They're allowing fans into the NLCS and the World Series. It's 11,500 fans going to be spread out all throughout the stadium. They're going to put about 950 of them in suites, which confuses me a little bit because if the players are supposed to be in a bubble, where are the family members going to be if they're not going to be put in suites? I really hope we're not risking players getting coronavirus so that way MLB could sell 1,100 tickets. So I don't know what the plan is there. I hope they have it together. But yeah, so the fact that we can't really even enjoy that game, let alone at our home stadium, and fans have to travel to Texas, it sucks. But I will say this. If the Dodgers win, no matter the team that wins, it's going to be legit. But the way I look at it, if you're a team like the Padres or Houston, because nobody counts 2017, imagine winning your very first World Series championship in a 60 game season. Like as a Dodger fan, I think it's easier to accept because we have multiple. But like if I'm a Padres, like as a Dodger fan, like I said, it'll be a legit title. But if something happens and the Padres go on and win this whole thing, there is no way I am ever going to let Padre fans live it down that their very first World Series championship came off a 60-game season. So I know that'll be held against us if the Dodgers win. I know a lot of people talk shit and say, no matter the team that it happens to, that fan base is going to get shit for it. You're going to be told your team could only win because it was 60 games. For the Dodgers, you're going to hear a ton of shit about Kershaw going, well, he didn't have to pitch a whole season, all this kind of stuff. Like, that's all you're going to hear. So no matter the fan base, your team is going to get shit on if you win the World Series. It's going to happen to Dodger fans. It'll happen to Padre fans, Astro fans, A's fans. It literally does not matter your team. That's bound to happen. But I'm there with you too. I am excited. I'm more on the excited side. I am a little bit kind of bummed though that, like, if this is the year, I kind of wish we could have done it a year prior, so that way this isn't like the first one in my lifetime. But if they win, I'll still be happy. It's still going to be a World Series championship. The players still have to work their
I mean,
ass
don't
off
get me
for
wrong.
it.
I'm going to be happy as well.
Yeah, it's just not the
Yeah, I
same.
mean, yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm going to be happy as well. Yeah, but I won't be as enthused. I'll just be like,
Yeah, it'll be.
and then eventually I'll be like, of course you guys will win at this time.
Yeah. No, I think that's kind of
It's
how
so
all
Dodgers for you to
Dodger
do that.
fans feel kind of right now, is that if they were going to win
Yeah.
it, like, we've waited, what is it, 32 years, and now all of a sudden they're going to win it in a season where fans can't even be there. So we shall see. Oh, well, that's interesting. So the Padres added someone named Ryan Weathers to their roster. He will be making his big league debut in the playoffs if he comes in at all. So that'll be interesting. But yeah,
So he's a relief pitcher?
I don't know what he is. They
Okay.
just said he's,
A lefty?
yeah.
Okay.
Or no, actually, I don't know. Ken Rosenthal just tweeted that Ryan Weathers would be the third player in 2020 to make his major league debut. I'm assuming it's a pitcher. It seems like all of the guys that have, yeah.
Yeah, he's a left-handed pitcher prospect. Let me go fetch his ranking real quick. But yeah.
Cool. So yeah, we'll see. I don't know how much.
Fielder and right-handed pitcher off the roster to make room for Clevinger and him.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll see what happens there. Not too worried about it, although I always feel more confident when the Dodgers have seen the pitchers a couple times before facing them. But we'll see what happens there. I feel good enough against the rest of the Padres. So that was really all we had for the Padres series. Of course, we want to go over the wild card series, but that kind of already happened, so we were saving that for last. Dodgers pretty much took it to the Brewers, didn't have many issues. There were, of course, a couple moments I feel like you could say maybe you were a little bit worried, but I felt like there was really no true moment except for when Jansen came in to pitch. There was no true moment that I felt like, oh God, this team is going to beat us, which I feel every year during the playoffs, during every round. But I didn't really feel that with the Brewers. They won 4-2 game one. Buehler, like we mentioned, looked pretty damn good. 4 innings pitched. He gave up 3 hits, 2 earned runs. He struck out 8 guys and he walked 2. And fun fact there, Buehler actually, so he has had 7+ strikeouts in every appearance of his postseason career, which is tied for the 3rd longest streak, but that was prior to his game. So he's the only players that have longer streaks are Randy Johnson, who's done 9 straight games, and Kurt Schilling, who's done 7 straight games. So if that gives you any idea as to what Buehler's doing in the postseason, dude has 7+ strikeouts in every single one of his appearances in the playoffs. That's insane. So we need him. Gonna need him tonight, probably almost, I feel like, more than maybe any game. Just because I think there's a lot riding on this series with the Padres, that getting up 1-0 could really mean a lot. Going down 0-1 could be very bad. But other guys that game.
So,
go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I was going to talk about Buehler's start. Like you had mentioned, the strikeouts were good. I don't think his command was all that good, though. I mean, he did walk 2, but I feel like he missed his spots quite a bit. And obviously, he made a mistake to Arcia. He did get Braun twice on a curveball. He got Yelich on a curveball, and he threw different variations of the curveball because the ones to Braun were kind of hard curveballs, and the one to Yelich was much more of a traditional one. Um, Again, like I mentioned earlier, he might need to start throwing his slider a bit more. I hope he has a better start than he did against the Brewers. If it's the same, I that means Julio will probably come in again, or maybe they go Gonsolin or May. I don't know. But if it's like the same kind of outing, I don't know how the Dodgers are gonna fare. So they're gonna need the 6, 7 strong innings. Even just one run would, I think, would help the Dodgers out tremendously. So I wouldn't say it was a bad start, but I'm not necessarily saying it was like a good start either.
Yeah, when it came to his command, I see you there. He got it done when he needed to. All things considering, the blister, 8 strikeouts. Again, it's a way weaker lineup than the Padres. You can't make those same mistakes to the Padres lineup, otherwise they will make him pay. That's why I will be happy if he goes 5 or 6 innings and only gives up 2 runs. Even 3 runs I could probably work with against this offense. So I just, whether or not how good he looks for me tonight, it's always going to be important. But for me tonight, like, I just need the results. That's what I need. I need 5 or 6 innings of 2 or 3 run, and that's it. This can't be a Bueller start where he goes out there and gives up 3, 4 home runs, because that's usually the only way teams score against him. And you mentioned Urias coming in. He came in after Bueller. He got the win. That, to me, was one of the best appearances I've seen from him, possibly all season. He looked really good. He had the 3 innings pitched, 3 hits, gave up no runs. He had 5 strikeouts. He didn't walk one, which we know his command has been awful in the past, especially in that first inning. He's been walking guys all season. He didn't there. So we needed him. He came through. He did his thing. A couple other guys, we saw Mookie. He doubled in his first and second at bat as a Dodger in October. So that was beautiful to see. I have admitted, and I will admit it again, when the original trade for Mookie Betts was announced, my only concern with him was how bad his postseason numbers were with Boston. I don't know. I do believe that there are some players who have it in October and some don't. Sometimes it also just takes a change of team, change of location. But Mookie has 3 doubles with the Dodgers already in 2 games. He had 7 doubles in his entire postseason career with the Red Sox, and the Red Sox were good while he was there. He was playing in quite a few postseason games. So I'm just hoping, like, we're getting the postseason Mookie Betts Red Sox fans never got to enjoy, because I think he's going to be crucial to this team in order for them to win. Seager homered. He's also a guy that we see struggle a lot in October. It was nice to see him reach a couple times. AJ Pollock singled and walked, and he had an RBI in game 1, which is all more than he had last October. So he's already got more hits this year than he did last year. Like I mentioned, my only concern really was Jansen and his cutter not averaging 90 miles per hour. Very, very concerning. One other thing that did bug me a lot from game 1 was how many runners they left on base and runners in scoring position. They went 1 for 8 and they left 7 on base. And against a team like the Brewers, who they have a decent pitching staff, but they didn't have Devin Williams. They didn't have Burns. So they didn't have like their best starter, and they didn't have their best bullpen guy. And we still only scored 4 runs against them and managed to go 1 for 8. They looked a little bit better the next game, game 2, when they won 3-0. They 2 for 4. They went 2 for 4 with runners in scoring position, and they left 3 on base. But again, I kind of am going to need more from the offense than that, because the Brewers are the worst team that they were going to play. So we'll see what happens there. Clayton Kershaw, though.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Before you get on to Kershaw, I was going to say something. The offense wasn't as good as I was hoping. I thought, like you mentioned, Betts did his thing. He had the 3 doubles. It was also nice to see Bellinger get 2 hits.
Yeah.
Because as we've seen, he strikes out a lot, and he'll have 2 hits in a 7-game series. So it was nice to see him get hits in back-to-back games. Still nothing from Muncy. It was more of the same. He walked, he struck out, did nothing else. Turner didn't get a hit, I don't believe. So the at-bat quality is going to need to be a lot better. I thought the first 2 innings of the game 1, the at-bat quality was good. I wasn't happy with that moving forward. The second game, it wasn't good till like the fifth inning, sixth inning. Whenever Woodruff started getting tired is when the bat quality got better. So they're really going to need to be on their A game against
Yeah.
the Padres because the Padres can score.
Yeah, no, they will. And they have no issues scoring, one of the better teams in baseball. I want to say it was the Dodgers and Padres who kind of led all offense in the NL for most of the season, even across AL. There weren't too many teams, I think, and the Braves, of course, but yeah, anything can happen in this game. Offense, I definitely want to see more. It really bugged me that I think it was the first inning of game one. Was it first inning of game one when they had bases loaded? Yes, it had to have been because
Yeah,
that's when they left
yeah,
seven
yeah.
guys on base. That drove me
See, the
insane.
thing is, it drove me nuts too. But originally, I thought Rios hit the grand slam, and then once it started going further down the line, I was like, okay, it's foul. And then after that, there was nothing. So yeah, that was pretty bad.
Yeah, that was very frustrating. It seemed like typical Dodgers in the playoffs to get the bases loaded, and they scored, I think it was 2 runs that inning. And it was because he walked home 2 runs. Like they didn't really even earn the runs. And that really bugged me. So we'll see. My biggest thing from game 2, though, was Clayton Kershaw. Oh my God. Uh, that dude was on a different level. I don't care if it was the Brewers. We've seen October struggles from Kershaw in the past. The team itself doesn't usually matter. It's kind of just whether or not Kershaw's on it. And going into that game, I have a feeling that I just feel like this is a revenge season for Kershaw when it comes to October, finding everything out he did against the Astros. I dove a little deeper into his postseason stats from 2017 outside of the game against the Diamondbacks, where he was left in for too long. That game, one of the NLDS, he was pretty dominant all October that year. And it's that one game against the Astros, game 5 in Houston, that really screwed up his postseason ERA that year, at least. He's had his other bad games in the past, but I'm just feeling really good about Kershaw this year. I don't know why. I just feel like there's something there. He feels like he has so much to prove. And he came out and did his thing. It's the best postseason start I've ever seen from him. 8 innings pitched, 3 hits, no runs, 13 strikeouts, 1 walk. And my favorite part of it was, I don't know if you saw it, but was when Roberts was about to come out and get him, and Kershaw was like, no, you're not coming out here. And it was nice to see Kershaw tell Roberts no, and then see Kershaw smile versus where you usually see Kershaw's pissed off, like, no, you're not coming out here. I'm going to work out of this jam. We're fine. He wasn't in a jam. Luis Urias reached base. He picked him off right after. So yeah, when Urias reached, I told myself, like, I want Kershaw out. Like, that's when you need to pull him, because with Kershaw, like, if things start to go downhill, that's when they keep starting to go. But I was wrong. I'm glad Roberts left him in, because like I said, Kershaw picked him off. It was great. Looked good. We're really going to need him. For a lot of fans, it's between the offense needing to hit and Kershaw and Buehler being on top of their game is the only way the Dodgers are going to win. If Kershaw and Buehler don't do their thing, I don't think there's much of a chance that the Dodgers can win all of this. If offense doesn't do their thing, it won't matter how good the pitching does. You can't win if you can't score. So we're going to need more from them. We saw Gratterall get the save in game 2, which I think surprised a lot of people. It's what a lot of people wanted to see. I mean, I don't know if they wanted to see Gratterall. They just didn't want to see Jansen. But Gratterall came in and got the save. He did give up 1 hit. That was it. Didn't strike anyone out. So he looked good. Roberts continues to stand by the fact that Jansen is our closer, yet he did not bring him out in that situation, said he did not want Jansen facing the same batters as he had the night before, which I was very happy about. I feel like there was a lot of stuff from Roberts that we saw that we might not have seen in years past. And with that, it kind of had me thinking, like, did you have any criticism for Roberts from that first series? Like, was there anything that you were kind of like, it happened and you're like, oh no, this is going to come back to bite us in the ass, or that made you feel like Roberts in past postseasons?
No, actually, I thought what he did was logical. My only problem is stop batting Max Muncy fourth. I'm sick of seeing it. They need to move on. I
Yeah.
mean, yes, he's still taking his walks, but he's offering nothing else. Put him seventh, put him on the bench. I don't care. He does not need to be batting fourth anymore.
Yeah, they can move him down. I'm fine if they leave him in the lineup. They don't need to leave. I mean, I don't know if he needs to be in there every single game, but I know it's also, I think it's a confidence thing for him, which I get. If the team's winning, that's fine, but I do agree he does not need to be even in the top. Maybe like sixth would be the highest I would go at this point. But yeah, I don't really want to see Muncy.
I had Betts, Seager, Turner, Bellinger, Smith, and Pollock ahead of him.
I would do, yeah, I'd be fine with that. I my assumption is it's the mix of having lefties and righties,
Lefty,
maybe,
right? Yeah.
is my guess. So that way,
I get that. Yeah.
with the 3-man minimum now coming out of
But
the
Bellinger's
bullpen.
been batting sixth, so switch them two then.
Yeah,
That's my
that'd be
thinking.
fine too. So, because if Belly gets on base, he can cause a havoc. My guess is though is I'm wondering if they're using these numbers from the past postseason, like
Yeah.
Muncy's always been on top of it and Bellinger isn't. Like maybe we'll see this series, maybe we'll see that swap because they'll be able to say like, hey, now Muncy's not hitting, but Bellinger is. Let's kind of switch this up. Maybe they were thinking that first round it wouldn't be that way, but as you said, when it came to the criticism, I was very happy that they let with what he did. He seemed to have guys warming up in the bullpen earlier than usual. It seemed like he was not giving guys really a chance to screw up on the mound. It seemed like there was one game, I forget who was, I'm blanking on who was on the mound, but I think it was Trinan and Victor Gonzalez were both warming up in the bullpen. I think it might have been when Kershaw was on the mound. They didn't need to be ready because Kershaw was they needed to start getting ready. But I feel like in years past, Roberts would have waited until they were in trouble to start warming those guys up. And it seemed like this year that's not going to happen. I think the one thing with Roberts every year is he needs that short leash in situations like that, not let guys play it out. Granted, there are times where maybe he should let guys play it out, but we've seen it in the past where he's done it to Kershaw and he has let Kershaw decide whether or not he stays in and he goes and gives up too many runs because he's just thrown too many pitches. So I was glad to see that he was on top of it and ready to pull a guy at any point if he needed to. And so I was pretty happy with it, but
yeah, I wanted to talk about Kershaw start a little more. So like I was most impressed with the use of his slider. I think he was getting a lot of good depth with certain sliders, and he threw like a variation of them. Of course, he had that hard-biting slider that he throws to right-handers that sits like at 88, 89 miles an hour, sometimes 90. Then he had that other variation that almost resembles like a slurve, a mix of a slider and a curve. It has a little more bend than his usual slider. He located both variations very well, and I think that therein lies the key to his success the rest of the way, because there were times last year where his slider kind of mimicked his fastball. They were kind of flat on the same plane and almost the same velocity, because last year his fastball was like at 90 and his slider was 80, 89, 90. So hitters were timing it. But when he was on last year, we saw what we saw in the game against the Brewers, and that's him throwing his slider at different locations on different planes and mixing the slider speeds up very well. So if he can continue to throw them between 86 to 90, which he did in that game against the Brewers, then that should help him going forward.
yeah, I agree. There's a lot of pieces that are just going to have to come together for them to win this all. It's a tougher postseason just because of the way the format was. Granted, it does allow some teams like the Marlins, who probably wouldn't usually make the playoffs in a normal season, get in there. So we saw them upset the Cubs.
Fun fact, when the Marlins have gotten to the postseason, they've won the World Series.
Yes, I'm not looking forward to that because right now there is the chance we could face them in the NLCS if we move on and they move on. I don't see them beating the Braves. I feel like the Braves offense is way more potent than the Cubs. The Cubs are so damn overrated. I'm so tired of hearing about them. They literally have won, I think, one postseason series since they've won the World Series. We heard about this dynasty and how the Cubs were going to be the next big thing, and they're overrated. Their main guys don't come through in October. I'm tired of hearing about them. So I'm not all that surprised at the Marlins. I didn't expect the Marlins to beat them just because I haven't paid attention to the Marlins after watching the games. It doesn't surprise me all that much.
They have really good young pitchers.
Yeah, they do. And that was, yeah, they got a couple of those. What was it? Didn't one of they came from the JT Real Muto trade. Oh man. And now look at the
Sanchez.
Okay.
Sixto Sanchez came, and I believe they got Sandy Alcantara from the Marcell Ozuna trade.
Yeah, so which is funny because you look at like the Phillies who can't even make the playoffs, and you have this guy now who's looking like an ace on the mound for the Marlins. And granted, you have JT Realmuto, like that's great, but I think any team would take a young pitcher over a catcher any day of the week.
And the funny thing is, the Phillies need pitching.
Yeah,
desperately.
And yeah, like you can get by if your catcher isn't that great hitting. We see a lot of most catchers are not good at hitting. So we see that throughout the league. But I get it. We see teams do it all the time. You never know what's going to happen. I don't see the Marlins getting past the Braves. So if we move on, I have a feeling we'll see them in the NLCS, but you never know.
Well, the Braves offense wasn't that good. Who they played?
The Reds, but
I'm blanking. Oh, the Reds have good pitching though, so
yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I still expected more from the Braves that series, but I was trying not to read too much into it because they did go against the Reds. But we'll have to wait and see. Got 4 games today, so lots of baseball. One game I think is actually starting. Yeah, just about starting right now. The Marlins at the Braves. So then we've got the Astros at the Athletics, which is really starting to piss me off. I need the A's to get it together because seeing the Astros out there doing what they're doing on our field and you guys I can't do this.
I think that's the worst part. Like I don't care if the A's win or not. It's the fact that they're winning at Dodger Stadium. It's like, okay. That's a little irritating. Especially
seeing Carlos Correa, like God, I don't think there's a more hated player in baseball than Carlos Correa. And he's doing well, and that really bugs me. But it's all part of the game.
Did you hear Les McCullers' statement after the game?
Yeah,
saying
Goofy.
What did he say that?
Goofy. Their payroll's higher than ours. He sounds so goofy.
Yeah,
Someone did the math
Someone
did the math this morning and was like, "Bro, your payroll's higher than the Dodgers. What are you talking about? You guys don't have any big name players, and like their team has like 4 all-stars on it. Like you have Greinke." You have Verlander. He's not playing this year, but you still can't say you don't have big name players. Like I can't stand McCullers. He's annoying as hell too. Joe Kelly's wife called him a McMuffin when he started talking shit on Joe. So I can't stand that guy.
Is there a likable person on that team?
No, well, probably not. If I had to pick one that was from the 2017 cheating team, I'd probably go with Springer because he's kept his mouth shut and he didn't steal an MVP from anybody, like Altuve did from Judge. So
if we're being honest, Judge still should have won that MVP.
Yeah, he still should have. But the fact that like Altuve, like I don't like Altuve's lies about the tattoo thing. Like Springer, I think for the most part has kept his mouth shut and he was never problematic in the first place. Whereas like Bregman and Correa were just assholes from day one, and so was McCullers.
But Bregman has been real quiet.
Oh yeah, which is funny because nobody spoke more than that dude last year when he was in the running for MVP, and now all of a sudden like he's not doing all his cocky shit. So I'm just annoyed more than anything that the A's or the Astros got lucky enough to face like the 2 teams that are awful in the playoffs, like the Twins. Somehow they got lucky enough to go up the Twins, who have lost 18 straight playoff games. And now they somehow got lucky enough to go up against the A's who
routinely lose in the division.
Who finally win and barely beat the White Sox.
Yeah.
And constantly are knocked out in the wild card and can't make it past the first round. And so it's like, what are we doing? Like, why is this happening this year? Like, why couldn't they go against the Yankees? Because I guarantee the Yankees.
They will be.
Yeah, if the A's don't get it together. I know there's a lot of Dodger fans who kind of want their revenge on the Astros. I would like the revenge too, but if we were to play them and we don't win, I don't know what I would do. So to me, I'd rather just not face them.
It's a risk, but at the same time, I have I just don't see a way the Astros beat the Dodgers.
I don't either, but when you've done this for 8 years, 7 years now, make it 8 years in a row. Maybe this year it's different, but it's just very hard to have the confidence as a Dodger fan, I think, in the playoffs.
Fair, yeah.
But realistically, I 100% think that the Dodgers would beat them. They took 3 out of 4. They should have swept them this season through the 2 series. Jansen blew up that 1 game. So, we'll see what happens. I don't have much to say. Game time starts in about, I think I'm in a different time zone, so I'm blanking really quickly on the time. I can't do basic math. It's in like 7 hours though. 7, 8 hours, something like that. But I'm excited. I just want to see good baseball. That's all I'm looking forward to. I want to see fun, good baseball. And of course, I want to see the Dodgers win. So if you didn't have anything else, I think that was it for today.
Yeah, nope. That's it.
Great. As always, thank you guys. Please leave a rating and review. We appreciate it. Let's go out there and get that win tonight. You can follow all of our social at Dodger Yard. You can find my personal at Randy_Radcliffe.
And you can find my personal at Michael Konu, MYKALKONU.
And let's go kick some Padres ass tonight. And we hope you guys have a good rest of your night, morning, afternoon, weekend, whenever you hear this. And we pray that we are back next week with another positive podcast and not having to discuss what it's like being a Dodger fan for the playoffs in the 8th year in a row. So other than that, we will talk to you guys next week. Bye, guys.
See you later, guys.